Just because she acts unbothered doesn't mean she's truly moved on. Most people think that coldness equals closure. That indifference means she no longer cares, but that's rarely the full story. Women, like anyone, use emotional armor to protect themselves, and what you see on the surface is often just a mask. She may laugh around friends, act busy, or respond minimally, but inside her mind is running countless scenarios, comparing her choices and replaying moments with you she didn't fully appreciate at the time. This mask isn't random, it's a defense mechanism. Admitting regret or longing outright can feel vulnerable, even shameful, especially if she made a conscious choice to leave. So instead of showing what she truly feels, she hides behind composed behavior. She wants to appear strong, unaffected, and in control because showing emotional weakness could make her feel exposed. And the more she projects that unbothered persona, the more likely you are to believe she's over you. But that belief is exactly what hides the truth. What most men fail to see is that the moments of subtle hesitation, micro expressions, or tiny cracks in that armor are far more revealing than words. A lingering glance, a soft smile when you appear in a story, or sudden curiosity about your life. All of these small signals can indicate that she's conflicted. That part of her is processing the reality that she might have made a mistake. And the fact that she doesn't admit it out loud doesn't negate the internal struggle she's experiencing. The key is understanding that emotional concealment doesn't equal emotional absence. She can act indifferent to maintain her self image while internally questioning her decision. Her mind is constantly calculating, did I give up someone valuable too soon? Was I really as happy as I thought I would be? Did I leave stability, respect, or connection behind? And while she doesn't verbalize these thoughts, they influence her behavior, her attention, and the subtle ways she interacts with you indirectly. The critical mistake men make is reacting to what they see on the surface instead of what the deeper psychology indicates. If you assume that coldness equals closure, you'll either chase unnecessarily, push too hard, or convince yourself that you've been forgotten. None of that is productive. The stronger and more effective approach is to remain calm, detached, and focused on your own growth while observing the subtle indicators she leaves behind. Those tiny moments often reveal far more than words ever could, because when she regrets losing you, it shows not always overtly, but in patterns, attention shifts, and behavior that contradicts her unbothered front. And the sooner you recognize this, the sooner you can leverage understanding, confidence, and timing to rebuild attraction naturally without desperate effort. The truth is, her mask is only effective until you stop reacting to it and start reading between the lines. Even when she acts unbothered, her mind rarely stops paying attention. You might see her behaving like everything is normal, like she doesn't care about what you're doing, and that can feel confusing. But the truth is, curiosity doesn't need a direct action to exist. She wants to know what you're doing, who you're spending time with, how your life is moving forward, and all of that happens quietly, often without her even realizing she's doing it. She may scroll through your social media, ask mutual friends about you, or even casually mention things she's heard, all subtle signs that she's still paying attention. This curiosity starts small, almost imperceptible, but it's consistent. She might laugh at a memory you shared online, react to your posts occasionally, or comment in ways that seem casual but actually carry emotional weight. Each of these small touches is a window into her thoughts. She wants to gauge where you are in life, what your mood is like, and whether you're still the same person she left behind. It isn't always intentional, it's instinctive. Humans notice what they've lost, even when they try to hide it. The more detached you are, the more noticeable your absence becomes. When you're emotionally independent and fully focused on your own life, she begins to compare what she has now with what she had with you. She notices your confidence, the way you move through your day, and how little you react to her actions. That contrast sparks curiosity. Even if she tells herself she's fine, her mind starts replaying old experiences, reflecting on what she enjoyed, what felt safe, and what she's missing. It's also important to understand the psychological angle. When someone observes your life from a distance without being able to influence it, they are forced to confront their own feelings. She may feel tension she doesn't understand, a subtle pull that makes her think twice about her decisions. And this isn't about manipulating her, this is simply the natural effect of absence combined with emotional independence. Your presence in her memory grows stronger precisely because you're no longer readily available. At the same time, these observations are often inconsistent and quiet. She won't reach out immediately or make dramatic moves. Instead, she gathers information subtly, testing the waters, seeing if the energy she once dismissed is still there. Each glance, each small inquiry, each indirect connection is her way of measuring the emotional distance between you now. What this teaches is that attention doesn't always manifest in direct communication. Observing, noticing, and reflecting are all forms of engagement. And the more you focus on your life and remain unbothered by her actions, the more these subtle signs accumulate until she can no longer ignore what she feels. Because curiosity is powerful and absence amplifies it. And when you combine that curiosity with your own growth, your presence becomes impossible to forget. In relationships, what someone doesn't say often speaks louder than what they do. Key point three is all about the inconsistent signals she gives, the little push and pull moments that reveal more than words ever could. When a woman acts unbothered on the surface, it doesn't mean she's emotionally detached. Inside, she's processing, reflecting, and sometimes even struggling with regret. That internal conflict inevitably leaks out through subtle changes in behavior. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice patterns that tell a deeper story. At first, these inconsistencies might be confusing. One moment she's cold, distant, and seemingly indifferent. The next, she laughs at something you post, engages in conversation, or reacts with a warmth that doesn't align with her earlier detachment. This isn't random, it's her mind signaling a conflict between pride and emotion, between wanting to appear unbothered and secretly longing for the connection she lost. Every small gesture, reaction, or lapse in her carefully maintained mask carries meaning, even if it's barely perceptible. Psychologically, push and pull behavior is a classic sign of internal struggle. She may consciously try to convince herself that she's moved on, but emotions are rarely that obedient. Feelings of regret, nostalgia, and comparison naturally emerge over time. That's why inconsistent signals are so common. They reflect her battle between holding on to her ego and acknowledging what she truly values. She may not say it outright, but her actions, expressions, and attention patterns betray the tension she feels inside. The beauty of this dynamic is that it gives you insight into her true feelings without her having to confess them. A sudden smile at an old memory, an unexpected reaction to your presence, or a subtle attempt to reconnect are all windows into her emotional state. These moments indicate that she's thinking about you, weighing her choices, and noticing what she may have lost. The coldness is the mask, but the warmth, curiosity, or small signs of attention are the cracks showing her inner conflict. Most men make the mistake of taking the cold moments at face value. They panic chase or overanalyze, missing the subtle cues that actually reveal her mindset. Understanding these push and pull signals allows you to stay grounded while reading the situation accurately. It's not about reacting impulsively or trying to force her hand, it's about observing, analyzing, and letting your own growth guide the dynamic. The more detached and confident you remain, the more these inconsistencies highlight what she truly feels instead of what she's pretending to feel. This is also where timing becomes crucial. Responding too quickly, showing neediness, or overengaging can erase the effect of her internal conflict. But when you stay calm, unbothered, and focused on your own life, those subtle signals become increasingly significant. They naturally draw attention to what she may have underestimated, the value, presence, and stability you brought to her life. Because the push and pull isn't random, it's her mind processing what she lost. And if you pay attention, you can let her actions speak for themselves while you maintain control over your own life. The moment you truly understand her psychology, you realize something important. She isn't just feeling your absence, she's also measuring her new situation against what she had with you. Key point four is all about comparison, and it's one of the most powerful indicators that she might be starting to regret losing you. Even if she acts completely unbothered, most people assume that if someone seems fine, everything is fine, but human nature rarely works that way. Our minds constantly compare experiences, emotions, and relationships, and when she's in a new dynamic, she will inevitably reflect on what she left behind. At first, the excitement of a new relationship can feel intoxicating. Everything seems fresh, interesting, and stimulating, but no matter how perfect it looks on the surface, it isn't the same depth of connection she shared with you. Over time, differences start to emerge. She may notice the emotional consistency, the stability, the understanding, or the way you challenged her to grow in ways her new partner does not. She may even catch herself thinking about moments she overlooked, moments when you were present, supportive, and engaged in ways that didn't feel extraordinary at the time, but now stand out because they're missing. This comparison isn't something she usually admits. Pride, ego, and social appearances prevent her from openly acknowledging that she might have made a mistake. Instead, it surfaces in small, often unconscious behaviors. She might bring up something from the past casually, reminisce with friends about experiences you shared, or show subtle curiosity about what you're doing now. Even if she acts detached, these small signals are her mind processing what she lost and comparing it to what she currently has. It's also important to understand the timing. Comparison grows as the novelty of her new relationship fades. Initial highs give way to reality, the disagreements, the inconsistencies, and the lack of depth that only comes with familiarity. This is when her thoughts naturally drift back to you because she's evaluating the value she once had and the standard of connection she experienced. She's not always aware that she's doing this consciously, but her internal dialogue is running, assessing, and comparing constantly. Meanwhile, if you're detached and focused on your own growth, this effect is amplified. When you're living a life independent of her attention, when you're improving, achieving, and demonstrating high value behavior, the contrast becomes undeniable. She sees what she left behind not as a memory, but as a living, evolving standard that she can no longer easily replicate in her current relationship. That comparison becomes uncomfortable, stirring curiosity, reflection, and sometimes even regret. The key is to stay aware but not reactive. You don't need to chase or prove anything. Simply living your life, maintaining your standards, and continuing your self improvement naturally triggers her mind to do the comparison work for you because people only truly recognize value when it's absent. And when she starts to see what she lost, the emotional impact becomes inevitable. When someone leaves and acts unbothered, it doesn't mean they've stopped noticing you. It often means they're carefully observing from a distance. Key point five is all about the subtle way she tries to re enter your world without appearing obvious. She might not call or text directly at first. Instead, she looks for indirect ways to reconnect or create situations where interaction feels accidental. These small gestures are often far more revealing than open communication because they're instinctive and harder to consciously control. She might like your posts on social media, comment casually, or react to a story in a way that seems random but is actually a test. These actions are often calculated to gauge your current energy, mood, and availability without risking her ego. She wants to see if you're still emotionally available, if you've moved on, and whether her absence has had an impact. These subtle interactions also serve another purpose. They keep her connected to you emotionally while maintaining her own front of indifference. Sometimes it's even more indirect. She may ask mutual friends about you, drop hints in group settings, or share things that she knows will catch your attention without making it obvious that she's thinking about you. These actions are all attempts to gauge your reaction while protecting her pride. She's testing boundaries, observing your life, and seeking confirmation of your emotional state, all without risking vulnerability herself. What's critical for you to understand is that these subtle signals are powerful indicators of her internal state. If you notice patterns, small touches of attention, indirect messages, or repeated attempts to create accidental encounters, it usually means she's reflecting on the connection she lost and trying to measure your value compared to her current situation. These behaviors often come when she senses that you've moved on, that you're detached, and that your life is progressing independently. Your independence amplifies the impact of these subtle actions because it contrasts sharply with the behavior she experienced when you were emotionally available and perhaps chasing. The danger for most men is reacting too quickly. They interpret these subtle signs as permission to re engage aggressively or try to chase her attention, which immediately diminishes the effect. The key is to stay grounded, confident, and aware, observing her behavior without overreacting. Your calmness and continued self focus increase the weight of her attempts to re enter your world. She will notice your composure, your independence, and the fact that her previous influence over your attention has weakened. Detachment doesn't mean ignoring everything, it means seeing the signs clearly, understanding the psychology behind them, and letting time and consistency reveal her true feelings. When you respond with stability and control, her subtle attempts to reconnect highlight her lingering interest rather than giving her more leverage because she can only test your boundaries and seek your attention if she still values what she lost. And the more patient and grounded you remain, the more undeniable that value becomes. Eventually, The moment comes when she reaches out directly, casually, or even seemingly by accident. Key point six is all about understanding the significance of this contact and how it reflects her true feelings. By the time she decides to initiate communication, she has already done a lot of internal processing, measuring what she lost, comparing her current situation, and noticing the ways in which your presence in her life was unique. This outreach isn't random, it's a subtle test to see if you are still the same man she once valued and whether the power dynamic has shifted in your favor. At first, her approach may seem light, almost insignificant. A reaction to your story or a casual comment may feel inconsequential, but in reality, these small gestures carry a lot of emotional weight. She's observing how you respond, gauging whether you're still emotionally available, and testing whether you still prioritize her attention. The way you handle this moment determines everything moving forward. Respond impulsively with neediness or over explaining, and you risk undoing all the progress you've made. Respond with calm confidence, detachment, and focus on your own life, and you instantly flip the dynamic in your favor. The critical lesson here is that she only reaches out when she feels a gap, when she notices your absence in a way that disrupts her current equilibrium. She's testing the waters without risking vulnerability because she wants to see if the connection she once had still exists or if it's truly lost. This is why patience and emotional control are key. Your reaction is more important than her initial contact. You can allow her curiosity and emerging regret to develop naturally without feeding it prematurely. It's also important to recognize the psychology behind this behavior. People rarely come back when everything is predictable. If she sensed that you were still chasing or emotionally dependent, she wouldn't need to test the situation. It's your independence and detachment that create scarcity and intrigue, making her reconsider the value of what she walked away from. This is why so many men fail. They try to force interactions instead of letting natural curiosity and comparison do the work for them. By remaining composed and self assured, you allow her to experience the full impact of the loss. She begins to reflect not only on the connection she had with you, but also on what she is missing in her current life. Every casual message, indirect check in, or small sign of contact now serves to confirm that she still has feelings or unresolved thoughts, but it's no longer a place where you are emotionally vulnerable. You observe, you respond selectively, and you continue focusing on your own growth in life because the moment she reaches out casually is the ultimate test, and your response demonstrates who truly holds the emotional power. When handled correctly, this is the point where she begins to realize what she lost and why she can't easily replace you.